It was an ordinary Tuesday afternoon, the kind where the world outside felt distant, muted by the everyday noise of life. I had just returned from work. Tired but used to the routine, I was walking down an alley behind the apartment building when something caught my eye. A faint rustling sound came from a pile of discarded card boxes and trash bags half hidden in the shadows. At first, I thought it was just a stray cat, rummaging through the remnants of what people had carelessly thrown away. But then, I heard something more, a small, whimpering sound. Curiosity piqued, I approached the pile, peering through the gap, and then I saw a tiny puppy, its fur matted with dirt, eyes barely open, trembling in the cold. It was hard to believe. In the middle of an urban wasteland, where people discard their unwanted things, a helpless soul had been left to fend for itself. The puppy's frail body shook from fear and hunger. Its tiny form barely fit in my hands as I scooped it up, my heart breaking at the sight. I didn't think twice. I wrapped the little creature in my jacket and rushed home, determined to save it. I placed the puppy gently on the couch. It barely moved, its eyes dull, and it seemed to have no strength to react to the new surroundings. I immediately set about finding a warm blanket, some milk, and a small dish for water. I wasn't sure how old it was. Too young to eat solid food, I assumed, but it seemed malnourished and weak. The first night was long. Every time I checked of it, it was curled up in a tight little ball, shivering. I sat by the couch, not wanting to leave its side. The puppy would occasionally whimper, a sound that tore through my chest. Was it in pain? Was it terrified of being abandoned again? I couldn't understand exactly what it needed, but I knew one thing: it needed me. I stayed up, wiping away the dirt from its fur, feeding it drops of milk from a tiny bottle. Slowly, it began to drink, but just barely. I wasn't sure if it would even survive the night, but somewhere deep inside, I hoped. The next few days were tough. The puppy barely ate, and I began to worry. Was I doing this right? How do you nurse a puppy health when you don't know anything about puppies? I found myself Googling late at night, watching countless YouTube videos on how to care for sick puppies, trying to figure out the right food, the right routine. But despite all my efforts, the puppy's condition didn't seem to improve. It was still lethargic, its coat greasy and tangled, and it still didn't eat much. I couldn't help but feel helpless. Was I failing this little soul that had somehow found its way into my life? I had to take it to the vet. The clinic was small, tucked away on a quiet street, but the veterinarian was kind. She took one look at the puppy and told me that it was malnourished, likely abandoned for a while. The vet also suspected it might have some kind of infection, but nothing too serious. Give it time, she said, and love. That's what it needs most right now. The vet handed me a small bottle of antibiotics and a can of special puppy food. I felt a sense of relief. There was hope, and then the door opened. In the weeks that followed, the puppy started to change, little by little. It gained weight, though not as quickly as I'd hoped. But what really stood out was the growing connection between us. It was no longer just a scared, sick puppy that I was caring for. It was a tiny soul that had begun to trust me. When I would wake up in the morning, it was always waiting by the door, its tail wagging furiously. It was a joy I hadn't expected. Slowly, it learned to follow me around the house, watching my every move with an innocent curiosity. Its eyes started to shine brighter, and it no longer flinched when I moved near it. I named it Max. It just felt right. Max was clumsy at first, tripping over his own paws, but he was always so eager to explore. I remember the first time I saw him try to play, pawing at a toy that I had set down for him. It was a small thing, but it was a victory. The puppy had started to live again. As time passed, Max's transformation continued. His fur became soft and shiny, his body grew stronger, and his energy returned. He became more playful, running around the house, wagging his tail so fast I thought he might lift off the ground. His once dull eyes were now filled with life and excitement. It wasn't just his physical transformation that amazed me. Max's personality began to emerge. He was incredibly affectionate, following me everywhere, lying by my feet when I worked, always seeking my attention. But he also became fiercely protective. Whenever someone came to the door, he would bark loudly, his tiny body brimming with confidence. He had found his place in this world, and in doing so, he had found his family. The bond between us grew deeper each day. It was clear that Max and I needed each other, more than I ever realized. he had given me purpose. In return, I had given him a second chance at life. 6 months had passed since I found Max in that alley. Looking at him now, you'd never guess the ordeal he had gone through. His coat was a deep, rich brown, and his eyes gleamed with happiness. He was no longer the frightened, malnourished puppy I had taken in. He had grown into a strong, healthy dog, full of energy and joy. But it wasn't just Max who had changed. I had too. Before Max, I had never known what to have something that depended on me so completely. I had lived my life mostly focused on my own routines, my own goals. But Max had opened my heart in ways I never imagined possible. Now, my days were filled with laughter and love. Every morning, I woke up to find Max curled up next to me, his head on my pillow, looking at me with those trusting eyes. Every evening, after work, I would be greeted with excited barks and wagging tails. He had brought so much light into my life. As I watched Max sleep on the couch, his tiny body stretched out in a peaceful slumber, I couldn't help but reflect on the incredible journey we had both been on. From the moment I found him in that alley, so broken and alone, to the strong, playful dog he had become, every step of the way had been filled with challenges, triumphs, and an overwhelming sense of love. Max had not just survived, he had thrived. And in doing so, he had taught me the true meaning of resilience, compassion, and the power of second chances. I knew there would be more challenges ahead. There always are. But I also knew one thing for certain. No matter what happened, Max would never be alone again. And neither would I. Sometimes, I think about that moment I found Max, all alone in that pile of trash. If I had walked past him, if I hadn't stopped to investigate that strange sound, what would have happened? Would he have survived? Would anyone else have cared enough to help? The thought is too painful to bear. But I didn't walk past. I stopped. I took him in. And in doing so, we both found something we didn't even know we needed. Each other. Now, whenever I see someone in need, I think of Max. His story reminds me that it's never too late to make a difference. Sometimes, a single act of kindness can change everything. In the end, it's not just about saving a life. It's about changing the course of two lives forever.